Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode of Channel Your Light on Your Intuitive with myself, Erin Chandler. For those of you who are new here, I am an intuitive guide, healer, psychic medium, author, and teacher. And for those of you who are joining me once again, love sees love, the divine sees the divine, God sees God. I'm truly honored to have each and every one of you here with me. So today is a message about a very specific emotion, anger. Anger serves a purpose. And as we move through the Great Awakening, as we awaken, then we have a purging, and we often have a lot of emotions that come up with it. Serapis Bay, I have a number of deities, gods and goddesses, as well as just very structured understandings of one of the purposes of anger, how it shows up, why it shows up, what to do with it, and the deep and divine purpose of that emotion. I want you to think about the law of polarity. If love exists, so does hate. If night exists, so does day. If anger exists, my friends, so does joy. They are polarities and they are opposites. And to pretend that one emotion exists and another does not, it does not do justice, does not do service, does not even recognize some of the universal laws that we are here adhering to on the earth plane. Perhaps this is more of a teaching, Serapis Bay says, a teaching on the structure and discipline and the utilization of certain emotive experiences and using them to your benefit, not to project onto others, but rather to utilize them to nourish and feed the roots and growth for the expansion of the mind, of the soul, and of the spectrum of emotions. Thank you, Serapis Bay. So let's get deeply into this. So as somebody who has spent a number of years working with people who have been in the throes or the depths or have had experiences of deep, deep sorrow, trauma, betrayals, all of us at some point in our journey experience these things. The great purging means honoring anger. Oftentimes we have anger, and I'm not talking about misplaced anger. I'm talking about anger for those of you who are 30 chance people. You will often experience anger when you hit the 25th time that something happens. You're experiencing anger because it's trying to tell you something. Your anger appears to be at the other person for crossing your boundaries. But take a step back and look at this. Your anger is indicating to you that you need to do something differently, that there is something within you, that a boundary has been crossed, or you are sacrificing something. So this is one type of anger. Anger is showing you, stop giving people multiple chances. When you say no, it should be the first time it is listened to. Your anger sometimes can be also because you are continually not getting what you need. And oftentimes when we don't get what we need, we're either not saying what we need, we're not standing up and enhancing our boundaries, we're not doing something that we need. We're not taking a step or an action or understanding something about what we need as individuals. Anger can show up in these circumstances when we have not been able to stand our ground to say what it is we need, what we are willing to do and tolerate, and what we are not willing to do and tolerate. Some of you have anger because you have tolerated too much. Unconditional love is not unconditional tolerance, to be very clear. In these circumstances, these are structures. If you are faced with anger over something, perhaps it is because you are being called to set a very clear boundary. Perhaps it is for you to call to stand up in your inner power, take back your power. That's the purpose of the anger. Sometimes we have to say no to something and we have to get so angry, that emotion, in order to get the fire to say no. Once we have that initial experience, once we understand that lesson, we then come down into a very cool, calm, peaceful, detached circumstance, place, and emotive experience. Serapis says the purpose of detaching from emotions is not to negate from the fact that they exist. It is not to pretend that they do not exist. It is the willingness to step back and to observe them clearly and plainly so that you can understand the purpose of the emotive experience. We have emotions for a very specific reason. Some of you have extreme anger over significant injustices. This is a call for you to stand up and ask for justice. Ask for order. Some of you are angry and there is chaos in the anger because you are being called to create the order. That is that is the whole paradigm picture. Instead of being in the emotive experience of saying, I am angry, utilize it. I'm hearing utilize the anger. What is it showing you? Do you need to set a clear boundary? Do you need to say yes to you and no to somebody else? Are you angry because you continually give yourself away? You can view that dynamic or relation as the mirror image showing you this, that you need to stop giving yourself away. You need to set a clear boundary. You need to say no once, and that is final. Sometimes that's why we have anger. You could look at it in the internal aspect. Bringing it back to the self puts you always in a position of power. It is not to say that you are to blame for someone else's actions. It means that you are being called to create order, boundaries, learn from the lessons, utilize that emotive experience. Anger serves a purpose. It is not a bad emotion. To say that that is an emotion we should not have is like saying we should not have love either. Think about the dynamic laws of the universe. This and that are true. If that exists, so does this. Many of us have had experiences of being victimized. I'm not talking about being a victim, playing the role of a victim or a victim mentality. I'm talking about having experiences that happen to us that evoke anger. For example, somebody whose personal, physical vessel has been accosted, not with their permission. That evokes deep anger. Deep anger that something like that, a barrier has been crossed. And this could be a significant thing. It could be a little things. It could be death by 1,000 cuts, or it could be one massive blow to the heart. And those are just metaphors, my friends. But both of these things add up, whether it's through a million little things or whether it's through one enormous thing. They create wounds. They can create anger. So if you have anger over something, what is it asking you to create order within yourself? Anger serves a purpose, my friends. I know for me on my journey, there are many, many circumstances where I have felt anger. And when I say anger, there's anger and then there's deep rage. I have experienced both of these things in their truest forms, to be very honest, in their truest forms. The purpose of those emotions is not to stuff them down. It is not to pretend that they do not exist. It's to understand the purpose of why they are there. They are telling us something. Just as our body is a barometer, our anger, our emotions are also barometers. Are we going this way or are we going that way? If something feels very negative and shameful, that's an indicator we need to go to a different aspect, something that feels more joyful, more light, and more free. Perhaps that is the purpose of that emotive experience. Think about it in this aspect, my friends. Oftentimes, the anger that we perceive to be at somebody else is the anger at ourselves for not standing up, for not moving forward, for not following our soul's yearnings, for not saying no when we need to say no, for sacrificing ourselves repeatedly. Sometimes that's the thing we have anger about. It's telling us something. That does not mean we go out and project it at other people and yell and scream and hurt other people because we are angry. That's not what that means. Look within. The emotion is telling you a story. The emotion is telling you there is a narrative that you are living out, either subconsciously or consciously, that no longer works, that does not fit. And we are being asked to make a change. That is oftentimes what anger is indicating for us. For me, anger is the reason I took back my power. It was showing me where I had given away my power. It has shown me where I was disempowered. It was showing me where things were very imbalanced. Our anger is internal. It is not external. People present to us to trigger that anger within us or to give us an experience, to trigger that so that we understand, oh, I need to create a boundary there. Oh, I need to say no to this. I need to say yes to this. I need to really look at the deep wound where that anger actually originated from. Anger serves a purpose. Do not dismiss it and do not discredit it. If you are feeling internal anger, I want you to sit with that. Think about what it's telling you. For some of you, that anger that's within you, you need to get out because you have had circumstances that have been unfair and unjust and unwarranted, quite frankly. There are some of you who have been victimized in ways that are horrific. Use these experiences. If you have deep anger within you and you do not acknowledge it and you stuff it down, it lives in your body. It permeates every atom and particle. Think about it. An emotion is tied to a narrative, a thought, and a story. Sometimes it is based on an experience or a circumstance that we have endured or we have encountered or experienced. These are all interconnected. If you have anger, I want to tell somebody on here, you have a story where you say, oh, it's okay, you know, I can't think a bad thing, or they've had a hard life and this is why this happened, or this is why that happened, or I should be more kind, or I should be more this, or I should be more that, and have more compassion. For some of you, your compassion is the issue. Not that you're compassionate, that's not the issue. It's that you do not stand your ground and instead you sacrifice and put compassion ahead of this, ahead of your own needs. You can get angry over this. It's okay for somebody to say, this happened, this made me angry, and it made me feel this way. That is not discounting from somebody else's experience. Yes, hurt people. But guess what? There are also hurt people who do not hurt other people. That is also true. People who love. These are all different dynamics that are coming through right now. And I feel like different pieces of the puzzle of why different people have anger that are coming through. So it's very interesting. I'm just going to allow Serapis Bay to show the different dynamics, strings, threads, narratives, reasons that we potentially have anger so that we can pull it up and out of us, see it clearly. This is why we do journaling, friends. I'm being told to tell you, when we do journaling and we just pour out onto a page all the things that exist within us, you can stuff it down as much as you want to, but it will continue to exist until you look at it. It will continue to permeate your entire experience. It will continue to put lenses of distortions and muddied perspectives in your experience until you honor how you feel. When you honor how you feel about something, you are then able to put it outside of you and observe it. But if you do not honor it, and you allow it to sink in like this, how are you ever going to expand? How are you ever going to learn? You cannot observe it when you are enshrouded in it. Speaking it out, acknowledging and honoring, I have anger about this. I have anger that this happened. I have anger about this hurt. Maybe that hurt is from decades ago. Maybe that hurt is from yesterday. Maybe it's a combination of a million little tiny things all built up until you explode and disperse the energy. Anger is often a disbursement of energy that has built up over time. Anger serves a purpose. When you can write it on paper, get it outside of you, simply acknowledge how you feel, then it becomes outside of you and you have space in your vessel. That means you can then observe and the divine can fill it. Drop in the integration. You cannot integrate that which you are not willing to honor or identify or acknowledge exists. When we are in expansion, when we are purging, that allows us to then integrate it. This is a powerful tool and skill to understand. It is part of the alchemy process. It is the shifting and the changing and the moving. Energy does not die, it transforms. But if you do not let it transform and you hold on to that anger and you stuff it down and you turn your cheek away, or you pretend it doesn't exist, or you say you shouldn't feel that way, you're doing the opposite of what you need to do. We want to transform this energy. We want to utilize it, to integrate it, to expand us further. We want to heal the wounds, but if you close down and shroud in the wound, you can never heal it. You can never move beyond something you are unwilling to acknowledge. Do not dismiss anger you are feeling at this time. Sometimes it holds the greatest gem. Serapis Bay says, go back to the detachment. Once we move through that experience of acknowledging how we feel, we then get to identify why we feel that way because we have acknowledged the emotion or let it outside of us. In this integration period where we come to observe it, we then learn that the detachment of emotions is not about ignoring them. Again, he is saying this again. Detachment solely serves the purpose of being able to not only master your own ship, but utilize every experience to your benefit rather than your detriment. This is a very important skill that you must learn in the structures of universal laws and in the human avatars. It allows us to have discipline. It allows us to utilize all of the experiences, bringing down, I'm seeing it like fertilizing everything that you are, creating solid foundations. It is taking the rotten roots of experiences, understanding the emotive capacities or the emotive responses or the reason why we have them, and using them as a barometer, not to hold us down or to stay stuck, but to transition, to integrate, to understand, and that is when we transcend it. Understanding these aspects of the structure of the emotive, psychological, and physical experiences is of the utmost importance for expansion for many, many people. As we move along, opening our expansion, moving into the new dimensional aspects, we are gifted with different views from different dimensions. These are simply different perspectives. These different perspectives allow us to see things in newer forms. If we do not acknowledge the experiences that we have had or the purging of the emotions that have been settled into our energetic fields, we are unable to see from another dimension, and we remain in the third dimensional, still reconciling the duality. The great purging is part of the great awakening. We awaken, then we purge, then we clear, then we balance. We awaken, or we see something, or something is brought out of us. We purge it, then we start to integrate it, understand it, and then we transcend it by being able to observe it, all of the pieces, and taking away the pearls and golds and diamonds of wisdom. This is the process, my friends. Some of you have mastered this process, I'm seeing. It is something that every time you are continually faced with something, you are faced with a decision. You can go down this road or you can go down that road. You can choose the road of staying stuck in the emotion, or you can choose the road of acknowledging and saying, you know what? Okay, I feel this way. Okay, this happened. Here's why it happened. Here's why I feel this way. And let it all out onto a piece of paper. Get it outside of you. Don't let it remain in your thought forms condensed here where it gets confusing and clouding, spins a narrative and a story. If we want to change the story and the narrative, you need to get that story and the narrative outside of you. Some may call this a cathartic experience when you write these things down. If you are feeling a certain emotion, your first question must be, is it mine? Empaths, this is for you. Your first question needs to be, is this mine? If it is tied to a past experience, if it is tied to a memory of something that happened and it brings up this residue of emotion and you thought you dealt with it, that's yours. Pull out the last pieces of it. See the biggest diamond there ever was. Do not dismiss this piece. It is epically powerful. It takes you from here to here. It's a giant leap up a step. It is easier than you think. Do not be afraid of those dark feelings that you may have in this experience. You already have them. It's from an experience. And for some of you, I want to tell you, you're warranted to feel that way. You are warranted to feel angry. It's okay that you feel angry that somebody crossed your boundaries. It's okay that you feel angry about those things. It's okay to feel the way that you feel about how somebody treated you poorly, disrespectfully, took away your power, stepped on you. You are allowed to feel angry about that, regardless of the other person's journey. I don't know why, but somebody on here, you need to know this. You're a beautiful, compassionate, such a light. You are stunning. You also get to acknowledge you in the process. You also get to acknowledge like, hey, that wasn't okay, and this is how it made me feel. Regardless of your compassion for the other person's journey. Just because you acknowledge how you feel does not mean you are not compassionate for somebody else's journey. That's not what that means. Anger serves a purpose. It is not to project at others. It is not to blame shift. It's acknowledging how you feel and identifying clearly outside of you so you can integrate, understand, take the pearls of wisdom and expand. Take the garbage bags that are in your energy from these experiences and the emotions tied to them, fill them up, speak all the words, take them all out of you, put them in the bags and get rid of them, because integration and understanding is coming. Expansion is about this, my friends. You cannot expand if you do not acknowledge where you have been. You simply cannot. because then your expansion is colored. You get pulled back. It's more difficult. There's lots of stones and stumbles, and expansion can be like that anyways, even if you have nothing attached, nothing that you are still hanging on to. But when you do expansion with stuff you're hanging on to, it is harder. Allow these things to be purged from you. Do not pretend something didn't exist. Do not try and pretend you don't feel the way you feel. If you feel that way, you feel that way for a certain reason. Go back to empaths, says Serapis Bay. Those of you with empathic natures, those of you who understand that you can sense, see, at the Ke'esha'a, there is a seer on here. You can sense, see, feel, and know all others' emotive experiences deeply, deeply. You always need to identify, is this mine or is this someone else's? Because of the beautiful flow through of your energy, your ability to sense in all the subtle energy fields, regardless of whether it's somebody that's with you in person or somebody across the world. This is very important. Ask if it is yours. If it is yours, deal with it, my love. If it is not, simply move it from your energy. Allow the other person to deal with it. Allow them to deal with their anger. Allow them to deal with their shame and their regret. It is the most empowering thing for them to do. Just like it is the most empowering thing for us to take back our power, to deal with our own things. It is not to have someone else do it for us, ever. Does it help us along the journey? Are there people that come in to help us do something with us or for us? Yes. But that's intended for us to stand on our own 2 feet, to give us the nourishment, to open us to the possibility that we can do it too. It's not for someone else to do it for us. That's when we get to detach. Often people want to detach from their spiritually bypassing is what I'm hearing, spiritually bypass or detach from their experience or emotions, but they never actually processed it. They never actually acknowledged it. They never actually dealt with it. There are some things you cannot spiritually bypass. It will just keep coming around, friends, because it lives in your physical energy. It's living in your thought processes. It's living in your narrative. There are some things you cannot spiritually bypass, and you can try to for a very long time, but make no mistake, if it is part of your greatest lessons, your greatest soul's evolution, it indeed will come back around. That is also a side message for somebody on here that's not necessarily to deal with the anger piece. But that happens a lot, friends. It happens a lot. So there's all kinds of other reasons why we have anger. For example, this is just small set of souls and the reasons why we experience anger, but there's a ton more reasons for it. You've got the people who are angry when somebody sets a boundary. They get angry because they can no longer benefit from the lack of somebody else's boundaries. We have people who get angry because people aren't doing what they feel that they should, or are very stuck in a control thing, or are unable to see other people's points of views. We have anger as well when the truth does not mind being questioned, but a lie. When a lie is questioned, it is typically always angered. There is that too. Thank you, Serapis Bay, for guiding us through this and through all of these teachings. My friends, I am epically proud of anyone who does a spiritual journey, and marveling at all of you who were willing to expand, who are willing to grow, who are willing to look a good hard look at yourself. Because this journey, my friends, and expansion, it requires you to look at yourself. And when we look at ourselves, sometimes we're like, oh my gosh, that's not pretty and I don't want to look at that. Or, oh my gosh, I was doing that because I needed this. Or you didn't see things. It is not a journey for the faint of heart. For those of you on a spiritual journey, for those of you on a healing journey, for those of you here breaking generational curses, it's hard work. It's not, skipping down the road, sunshine and roses and unicorns. It's not. Some people paint the picture as that, but it's not. The journey of that, it doesn't look like that. Are there steps where you can see those things? Are there steps where you're like, oh my God, I feel so free right now. I feel such joy. Absolutely. I honor each and every one of you for everything that you have been through, everything you have overcome, everything you are still overcoming, and the things you will overcome that maybe you haven't experienced yet. The whole purpose of these experiences is to overcome them, to transcend them, to glean the diamond, to pull the pearl. to clean it. That's the whole point. It's never to bring you down. It's really to catapult you high up. So, my beautiful friends, thank you for being here with me. I want to hear how you have transformed. I want you to claim that in the comments. I am rising up. I am transcending all that has brought me down. I will not let anything bring me down. I am powerful. I am divine. I am transcending. I am ascending. I am expanding. I am leaning into joy. I am furthering into love. Claim those things, my friend. It's just as important as it is to acknowledge the things that don't feel good. Acknowledge the things that do. Acknowledge the reason why you're doing it. Remind yourself of this. It's so important. Remind yourself of the absolute joy of these experiences once you have transcended them, once you move through them, because good Lord, that is the whole dang purpose. It's the whole dang purpose. See the joy. See those moments. They will carry you. They will not just carry you, they will further your expansion higher and higher and higher. I am wishing you all much love, light, peace, healing, joy, transcendence, expansion, all of those beautiful, wonderful things. And of course, if you wish to book a private reading with me or a good deep spiritual cleanse, or maybe you're a divine feminine and you want to join our Channel Your Light community where we are expanding, learning the intuitive realms. We are getting guidance every week and we are supporting and anchoring our lights so that we can shine bright like a diamond. If you feel like you are called to that, you can find all of those things in the video description box below. And until next time, beautiful souls.